Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4 of Ultimate Fight Podcast. Just like to say, welcome back, and we have got a full show today with a great card from Matchroom this weekend, and also UFC was full of great fights. We have Sam also with us today. Hi, Sam.
Hello, mate. You alright?
Yeah, good. Thank you. You had a good week.
Yeah, I had a very good week. How about yourself?
Very good, mate. Very, very good.
Good
Unfortunately,
to
we
hear.
don't have Jake today due to work commitment, but we do miss him. Just wanted to obviously get on with the show and just say how great this weekend has been. And obviously, yeah, going to have another great show, aren't we, Sam?
We are indeed.
And we're all excited about next week as well. Next week's going to
Oh,
be a big one. So this show
I'm
is
buzzing.
this show is going to be good, but next week's going to be best. So, Sam, let's have a chat about UFC. Obviously, it was a good week, a week of full of it.
Yeah, so we had UFC Vegas 22. We had the Brunson versus Kevin Holland card. Very great card. There was a lot of finishes, a lot of great fights. Let's start with the main card opener. We had Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker. It was a heavyweight bout to open the card, and I thought it was a pretty interesting fight. So it began with Hunsucker managing to land a 1-2 combination at the start of the fight. Ty just seems to absorb the shot, and then there were some hard leg kicks by both men as well. But Ty managed to land a hard right hand, which stuns Hunsucker, and then another right haymaker, sending him straight to the mat. Follows it up with some heavy, brutal ground and pound. Then Ty wins the fight by TKO at the first 49 seconds of the first round. What did you think of that fight, James?
So you've always got to love a heavyweight starting fight. I just love it. It gets the show lively. I think. Um,
100%.
Always. I don't know why. Something about it. Always have like the prospects coming up heavyweight wise. They always want to be the one on top, division wise. Love the powerful shots that came out on this fight as well. Good blows, like you said before, the left and the right at the beginning. You just somehow he's got one hell of a chin and he's just absorbed it. And then
Yeah, it's mad.
obviously it continued that way throughout the whole fight, which is what you got to love. What fighters
There's
love.
always this, yeah, even though it was a main card opener, there's always a special buzz when you've got the heavyweights fighting. Do you know what I mean? There's always an extra bit of excitement.
Same as boxing as well. I don't know why. Obviously the other divisions are equally as good, and so are the fighters because they obviously everyone puts their whoever walks into a ring or an octagon or whatever you do in any sport, it's amazing to get into. But heavyweight, I don't know why. It's just something special about heavyweights.
I love it. And just so in case people don't know much about Ty, I'd probably say, in my opinion, probably had one of the best performances of the night. He had his striking was pinpoint accurate, and Hunsucker was no joke. He was known to have heavy hands. He had freak speed for a heavyweight as well. Ty said during fight week that he made some changes in his personal life that had negative impacts on his performances in the cage because he was undefeated for for quite a while, and then he had a few losses, but now he's come back and he's got a big win over Hunsucker and now hoping to break into the top 15. So it was quite impressive by Ty on the night.
It sounds on and off impressive because you don't normally come up like that and say those things. As a fighter, you always want to be there and obviously want to show off and stuff like that. To say that he's made mistakes and he's growing it's so good to hear. Yeah,
He's
so
managed to fix it, and it's definitely made his performance shine in the cage.
that's great news. That's great. That was good.
And then moving on to the co-main event, we had Max Griffin versus Kenan Song. It was a replacement co-main as the original fell apart, but it was a great fight. To be fair, both men came out with a strong opening. Max Griffin lands a straight right hand through the middle of the guard, stunning Song backwards into the cage wall. And then Max followed up with another 1-2 combination, which dropped Song hard to the floor, face first at cold. It was an unbelievable performance by Max Griffin.
Yeah, Max Griffin is impressive. That
Very
performance
impressive.
was very, very impressive. You could show he's got power as well, which is just very scary for a guy that can move so quick. And his abilities aren't just in one kind of mixed martial arts. Obviously, they know two or three genres, but yeah, he seems like he's good at absolutely everything in the ring.
Yeah, he's definitely a prospect to be watching in the future.
Definitely, definitely.
And then moving on to the main event, we had Kevin Holland versus Derek Brunson. It was a middleweight bout. It was quite a bizarre main event, did you think? Kevin Holland dances to the ring, he's singing, he's very confident, but very hyperactive.
Maybe too hyperactive.
Very hyperactive. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in all the fights I've seen in my life. This stands out as a very unusual fight. Both men exchanged wild strikes. Brunson was able to get the takedown multiple times in the fight. But the crazy thing was that stood out was Kevin Holland just did not stop talking. And then in between rounds, he would ignore his team and his coaches, and he's turning around speaking to Khabib, who's sitting ringside, asking for wrestling advice.
I,
And I thought that's just mad.
I did see it. It's just he did not shut up. I've never
No,
seen someone speak so much in a fight. I
I know.
think I
I
don't
mean,
know
I
if
thought Khabib was bad.
that's like a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. I don't know how you'd even like respond to it as well, because as a fighter, that would ignore you. That would be just off-putting. It would just be just constant. Yeah, it's just
You could
highly
tell
irritating.
Brunson. You could tell Brunson was getting annoyed with it. Like Conor Holland was like trying to shake hands with him at the end of the round, but he just ignores him. Walks straight to the corner.
Yeah,
Dana White claims that Kevin Holland may have had a mental breakdown in the fight, hence why he was behaving like this. That the pressure got to him a bit. But I don't know. I think he always acts like that, but it was just over the top in this one. He just did not stop for the whole entire time. It was crazy.
overkill. Yeah, overkill.
Overkill. But Brunson wins by decision due to the takedowns. Made him dominant the rounds basically. Definitely, Kevin Holland definitely had the better striking though. I thought, but Brunson being the wiser and more experienced fighter, he was able to avoid the dangerous right hand of Kevin Holland and use the wrestling. This was Brunson's 18th appearance in the octagon, so he's kind of like a gatekeeper now. He's more like he's stopping. He's now stopped two high prospects breaking into the top 10 in the UFC middleweight division. So we'll see what happens with Kevin Holland moving forward.
So one of the things with Kevin Holland is like he's a breakthrough and stuff like that. That he should be in the top 10. Do you agree?
100%, especially his performances over Jacare Souza. There's no
Yeah.
question he did definitely deserves to be there. But Brunson was able to stop the hype train again.
So
That's twice he's done that.
where do you know where Bronson is now? Like where he is ranked wise?
I believe he's ranked 7.
So ranked seventh. So yeah. So
Yeah,
next fight's got to be top five.
100%. Yeah, he deserves it. He's took out two high prospects that people have been watching that are known to be the next best thing, and he's able to put a stop to it. So yeah, he's in the talks of title talks as well.
That's great news. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just love hearing different names as well. I know we love the sport and we love watching our favourite fighters all the time, but when there's someone comes in that's completely different, that not is a household name, and he
yeah,
comes along and he beats and he deserves it. To be fair, he doesn't just jump into the situation, like comes over from Bellator as a champion and then has a title fight. Do you know that
yeah, hundred
sometimes
percent.
happens? I like people that actually deserve where they go and what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. I feel as well. Brunson doesn't get the respect he deserves because he's in the top 10, but he doesn't seem to get the credibility of as a top fighter. I mean, he's ranked 7 in the world, right, in the UFC. You put him in any other sport like Bellator, Strikeforce, Cage Warriors, he would be champion of the middleweight division just because he's that good and that high up in the UFC rankings. It just puts him on a higher pedestal.
Would you say there's a massive divide between Bellator and UFC?
Oh yeah, 100%. I do.
Is it like obviously when it comes to football and the Premiership and the Championship? Do you reckon
Mm.
there is a huge divide when it comes to money as well?
Yeah, I think well, you got the amateur matches, and then you got your big world. league matches, I bet you can, because you're more of a football fan than me. I bet you can see the difference in the skill levels between both teams.
Yes, definitely. So I'm just assuming because there is none of that in boxing, is there? Really, there isn't like a grade of like different like. So
Mm,
there isn't. Obviously, there's the WBO and the WBA and like
yeah,
all of the others. It's just
Wi-
I wonder because there's no like different companies, if you know what I mean. There's just one boxing,
it's one universe, isn't it?
one
Do you
like
what about the Commonwealth divisions? Do they come under that category?
they do, but I guess it comes in as obviously Olympic. You have to look at like the Olympic, the Commonwealth, and stuff like that. You are right, but you are normally a junior. You are quite
Yeah.
young when you're in them kind of competitions. You wouldn't
Mm.
see someone older being in them. So
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit different in the MMA world. So what happens in the MMA world is people try and get into the UFC. That's like the dream. When you get into the UFC, you've made your dream come true.
yeah,
So they start off in Cage Warriors, they start off in Bellator and Strikeforce, and then when they make an impression, they then get invited to have an opportunity at the UFC, and that's where all the best end up being at is the UFC.
fair enough.
So it's quite a weird setup.
I know, I completely agree though. That's absolutely fine. That makes it easier for other like upcoming fighters, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it makes it easier for them to come through the rankings and also the fact is that it's the it's divided others as well that may not be good enough, but they can still be on a stage.
Yeah, it
Instead of
builds their
them
name up a bit
being you
first before they get to the big lights.
but no, there are people that have just been at Bellator and will always be at Bellator, I'm
Hundred
assuming.
percent. Yeah,
That
you do get a lot of good talent. Like for example, Michael Page. He's someone I look at as a very high talent, but just doesn't seem to want to move to UFC to test himself.
maybe he just doesn't feel like the grading's there, or maybe he's left it too late. I don't know.
Don't know. Or maybe he's happy with his current contract, his current salary. Who knows?
Yeah, that's strange, but obviously it's their fight, isn't it? They've got to go
Yeah.
into the ring themselves.
Yeah. If you want to be the best in the world, you have to go into the UFC. You cannot be the best without trying it, taking on the top 10 in the UFC.
Yeah, true. No, completely agree. So obviously next week is very big
Oh,
for UFC. So
very big.
I'm very excited for this one. It's obviously the Ngannou versus Stipe fight that we've all been waiting for. How excited are
Yeah.
you about it, Sam? I know you're excited
Oh,
about every UFC weekend, but
yeah,
this
yeah.
one's gonna be big.
This one has a slightly extra special for me because it's the heavyweight championship. It's the biggest belt of all the marbles. Very exciting. But let's start with the first fight on the main card. We have the return of Sean O'Malley versus Thomas Almeida. This is a very interesting fight. So both men have high KO TKO ratio, and Thomas Almeida, if people don't know him, he's a how do you describe him? He's more of a Brazilian slugger at featherweight. He was 21-0 for a long time, and then he's had a little dip in his career in the UFC, losing 4 out of 5 fights. He's now attempting to move down to bantamweight, and this is really a make or break fight for him because he's come off a few losses. I believe, if he loses this fight, he's maybe facing to be released from the UFC. So he's now been booked to fight Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's always been a pleasure to watch. He's one of the biggest stars coming from the Contender Series. He was undefeated 12-0, 5-0 in the UFC as well, until his last fight with Marlon Vera, which ended in a bizarre way. I don't know if you heard, but he was getting like a leg spasm, and his leg kept giving out to the point he just collapsed, and then Marlon Vera just took advantage and won the fight by TKO.
I thought, yeah, it's
Um,
like the leg shin kind of.
yeah,
I can't remember. I thought he said that he lost all use of his foot as well. He
he went completely dead.
could not use his foot.
Yeah, that's correct. He was later diagnosed with foot drop, which is a disease not disease, it's more of an illness, when the lower leg and the foot has abnormalities and weakness due to the damage to the fibula and the sciatic nerve. which then causes the loss of function, and that's exactly what was happening to him.
That's
He just
crazy.
it's a really uh, bizarre thing to happen in a fight.
Must be so painful. Yeah, just being in that like moment as well. Being in that moment, obviously having to concentrate about the other person taking your head off, and then obviously coming into that kind of stage, and then losing all ability in your leg and your foot.
Yeah,
Yeah, one, it's painful to get kicked in the leg, right? But two, to lose the leg and having to
completely different
like
story.
throw other things and your balance is off and everything like that is horrible. What
100%. But he feels more frustrated than anything because he claims that he's still undefeated and that the fight didn't count due to the illness. Um, because he was undefeated until that point, and then he feels he's still the undefeated fighter. It wasn't his fault,
it is his fault, isn't
which
it?
is
Clear as day, it is his fault. He's clear. He's clear to fight. Surely, he's clear to
yeah,
fight.
he was clear.
He didn't have this illness before the fight. Obviously, the shots to the leg were very professional, and obviously caused damage, and then that makes him stop. It can't be any other way than he has lost. Unfortunately, abnormalities happen, don't they?
They do. It's just one of those things. But hopefully he's fully recovered and
Yeah, he's exciting. He is a very, very exciting fighter. I like him
hundred
a lot.
percent.
He throws
My
whatever he
question,
wants.
my question is, I wonder if a desperate Almeida will aim to chop at that leg in the fight to get the win.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, they've cleared him for this fight
Mm,
well enough, and he knows in his head that he is well enough, and his leg is in 100% condition. Don't go into that
mm,
fight with a bad leg, surely,
no,
because
he's taking time
he is going
off.
to take weakness.
So,
He is going to take the weaknesses, isn't he? Whatever if it's his arm, his leg, his ear, whatever.
well, I'm thinking Almeida's going to be desperate. He needs to get that win to stay in the UFC. So he will do anything at any cost to get the win. So it's more than likely he will go for that leg.
You never know, though. He might not be good enough
You never know.
on the night. He might not be good enough. He might not be. He might not be to up to scratch. So let's just see.
But my prediction for the fight, I believe Sean O'Malley wins by TKO in the first round. And I
Nice.
believe he'll want to come out and make a statement that he's still the top fighter in the division.
That's great. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. And then moving on to the co-main event, we got Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque. Sadly for fight fans, the original co-main event was cancelled, which was between Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega for the featherweight title. It was cancelled due to COVID-19 protocols, but will be rescheduled for April or around May. So now we have the chosen one versus the silent assassin to replace the cancelled co-main event.
That's a great
What do you
nickname.
think? Yeah, that's their
Great,
names. Yeah.
great nickname.
What do you think of this fight, James?
Obviously, disappointed with the Ortega fight because I love Ortega and love watching what he does.
Yeah.
This is going to be. It's hard to judge who's going to win this. It's going to be they do have qualities in different areas, I believe, and I
Mm,
reckon it's going to be good to watch. It's going to be a good watch. I don't know if it's going to be the fireworks that everyone expects, but I think it'll be
no.
good. And I really don't know who's going to win. What about you?
Well, I don't know. Vicente Luque is a rising contender. He's won, what's that? He's won 8 of his last 9 fights.
Yeah,
He's a very exciting striker. And with wins over Nico Price and Mike Perry, he's now broken to the top 10 in the welterweight division. But it doesn't get any easier. When you get into the top 10, they're all killers. It's death row from here out. And his opponent is Tyron Woodley, who was known as a formidable welterweight, former champion. But I really feel since the war he had with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he has not been the same. He seemed to have lost that killer instinct. I've noticed it in his last 3 fights. He backs up a lot into the cage. Doesn't seem to want to push forward, and he just gets picked apart from the outside. So this is another make or break fight for Tyron Woodley as well in his career.
good. No, yeah, Tyron Woodley annoys me but I do enjoy watching him sometimes. That's where I'm going to put it out. I'm just going to put it out there. He obviously held the belt for a long time, and he just didn't adapt. He just
No,
kept
he
the
had that
same
fight.
same skills, same kind of mindset, champion mindset. I'm better than everyone else. Didn't adapt, didn't change, and everyone else around him was, and everyone else obviously became better. And then that's when he hasn't got the belt no more, and he does need
Mm,
to start changing the way how he goes about things. But obviously, he's got it in his locker. He's got the skills. He's got the power in his locker. He
yeah, I
probably
do really hope he makes some changes. I mean, this is rank 7 versus rank 10, so it's not a like top 5 opponent. He's now facing a top 10 opponent. So let's see in a different skill set if it makes a difference
yeah.
in his performance.
Hopefully, he knows it's going down the ranks and needs to change.
Yeah, 100%. But my personal prediction, I think Luke wins by TKO in rounds 2. What's your prediction?
Oh, I don't know. I think even though I'm not a massive fan, I think Woodley might win. I think Woodley knockout.
Do you think Willie gets it?
No, Woodley points.
Oh, okay, by decision.
Yeah, by decision. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay,
I don't think he's got the knockout power anymore.
oh, okay.
Not
Yes,
as
fair point.
not as hard as obviously it's going to be a hard fight,
Mm,
and he's had amazing fights, and obviously
yeah,
fought amazing people. So he knows in his mindset, like if this person comes out all guns blazing, he knows how to like adapt in the fight to stop it happening. But I don't know. I'm just. I think him Woodley. Yeah.
let's we'll see what
Even though
unfolds
I'm
this
not a
weekend.
fan, but yeah.
No, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I reckon it'd be a good fight though between the two.
Yeah, definitely.
And then moving on to the main event, the one I've been waiting for such a long time. Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight title, the biggest, baddest rematch. Having successfully defended his title of a total of 4 times in 2 title reigns, he now holds the record for the most wins in the heavyweight title fights, along with the longest title defending streak in the heavyweight division at 3 consecutive defenses. So Stipe is now considered the GOAT of the heavyweight division. But across from the octagon is an absolute monster. Francis the Predator Ngannou is a terrifying freak athlete. His story is like something out of a movie. Did you hear the story about this, James?
What about
About Ngannou?
where he comes from and stuff like that?
Yeah, he grew up in Cameroon working in a sand mine, removing rocks and boulders from rivers. And
That doesn't make sense, does it? How is he in the UFC?
well, he moved to France about 7 years ago, and he was homeless. He was on the streets of Paris. He had no MMA background. He had a massive interest in boxing because he was a big fan of Mike Tyson, but he was told that it was a bit difficult to get into boxing. So his coach was saying, "Why don't you try MMA?" Then he had 5 MMA fights, and then someone who knows people in the UFC gave them a call and said, "Look, I just saw this guy. I'm putting a good word about him, and said let's give him a shot." So the UFC said, "Okay, let's give him a 3 fight contract, test him out." He starches everyone out cold. Like I've seen men come off the ground when he lands his shots.
Yeah, he holds the record for the hardest punch. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah. So his record is 96 horsepower, which is equivalent to being hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can, and is also more powerful than being hit full force swung with a sledgehammer overhead.
I'd run away quick. But obviously, it's different, isn't it? It's when he's hit that machine, he had no pressure, no crowd, no fighter against him moving. That was him in front of a punch pad, or a punch machine, and he's punched it as hard
Yeah,
as he physically could. This is
yeah,
obviously this is what we got to. The record is fantastic, but obviously we do have to remember that people move out the way, and you have to
oh
stop
yeah,
your shots as well. You can't just like he probably prepared, probably breathed in, probably was only 10
yeah,
punches in. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Ngannou has a fantastic punch, and you can see he's a freak athlete. But like last time when he fought Stipe, his gas tank was terrible. So
It
this is
was.
something hopefully that he's worked on.
Well, these were the questions that need to be answered. So in the first fight when he had with Stipe, Ngannou had lost his auntie, and he had to fly to Paris for the funeral on fight week. So flying from Paris to Vegas is quite a long flight, and it can do a lot to your gas tank in the fight, I believe. He wasn't trained very properly either, and he was also rushed. He just fought over him, and then 2 months later he was booked to fight Stipe. So he didn't even have a proper training camp. So now he's had a full camp. He's got more experience, and he just seems to be getting a lot better on the ground game as well.
But that's what he needed. He needed to do that.
Yeah, he needed to work.
So
Also,
this is why he's number one contender, I guess.
yeah, and guess who's in his corner this fight?
Who?
Kamaru Usman, the welterweight champion,
Really?
who is an elite wrestler. It's because they're both African. They're both like teamed up, and they're both supporting each other. They want to get another belt to Africa, so it makes sense.
Hardest mates.
Yeah, you didn't want to meet
Yeah,
them in the streets, do you?
no, definitely not. They're scary guys.
But another thing to look at as well, and you know how powerful Ngannou punches. If you look at back on his fights, he's never actually landed a punch cleanly on someone. They're all counters or he's hit them sloppy. Imagine if he lands cleanly, the damage he will do to that person.
Yeah, definitely. It's not good. We do have to remember though the person he's fighting. The
Of course, he
person we're
can't.
fighting is just truly
He's the
amazing.
goat.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's beat everyone in division. He's beat Daniel Cormier twice, who was considered the goat as well.
Has he ever fought John Jones?
No, but if he beats Ngannou, he will be fighting John Jones.
This is the problem I have. You can't be
What's
the
that?
goat until you beat the goat.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
And now he's
I know that's probably wrong of me to say because Stipe, I believe, is one of the best heavyweights ever. But but the John Jones of my lifetime is my goat. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
No, I fully agree. I think that net fight needs to happen, and I think that will the winner of this fight, for whoever fights John Jones, is the true greatest of all time. Whoever wins that fight,
Because
do you agree?
if you think Ngannou, if he does win this fight, okay, he is good, right? But I don't think he would be greatest of all time.
No, I mean,
He just
I'll
thinks
tell you. I'll
that.
tell you something about Ngannou. He doesn't have all the skills in the world. He relies solely on strength. It's just brute strength. That's all he relies on. He
Mm.
doesn't have many skills at all. No experience in MMA. You started late as well. So yeah, as a complete martial artist, that's not Ngannou.
Yeah, well, I get that.
John Jones, he's a complete martial artist. He can fight on the ground, stand up, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I mean, he likes to beat opponents at their own game. So if you're fighting a wrestler, he'll wrestle them just to prove a point that he's better than them at the wrestling.
Yeah,
If he's fighting a boxer, he'll box them just to prove that he's better than them at boxing. That's the crazy thing about John Jones.
and Stipe as well. Stipe has beaten the best to
He has.
remain the heavyweight champion. So you do have to say he is in that goat category, but he hasn't
Yeah,
beaten the goat. But
nah.
in my eyes, not in everyone else's. But yeah, he hasn't. He hasn't. But it's going to be a
And
great
then,
fight. What a great event.
ah, it's a great event. I really can't wait. I mean, it feels like a big fight is coming this weekend. You can feel the buzz already. I can't wait, literally.
Good news.
And then just finally, before we end it on UFC, I just want to say that there was an exciting announcement made last week by Dana White. He announced that UFC 261 will take place at Jacksonville, Florida, at the Five Star Arena with a full crowd of 15,000, and will feature 3 title fights. The first title fight will be Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas for the strawweight title. The co-main will feature Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade for the flyweight title. And then we got the rematch between Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2 for the welterweight championship. But we will break that down closer to the time when the card's on fight week.
One word. Wow.
What's that?
Wow.
Absolutely
I just
crazy
want to
card.
know is if Masvidal is the hype.
That's what we're going to
Obviously,
find out.
I want to find that out because
Yeah,
the guy is great, yeah,
yeah,
and he's obviously very competitive. Got great, obviously, he talks the talk, but he
yeah.
hasn't got any titles yet,
No,
or anything like that, or
no.
he just needs to prove himself. So this will be great.
This would be great. I mean, he became a mega star over the knockout over Ben Askren, having the fastest knockout in UFC history. But yeah, he's got a lot to prove yet. Still, he's still got to win a title,
Yeah,
and he's got a tough challenge ahead of him as well. Who's already beat him already?
let's see what happens.
See what happens with a full camp.
Right, so on to boxing. Okay, so
Yeah,
have you watched the Matchroom weekend?
I watched the Anthony Fowler versus Jorge. Is it George Fataya? Jorge
George, yeah,
Fataya.
yeah, George Vitaya. Yeah, that was a great fight on the card. Obviously, Anthony Fowler now has put himself in the people's eyes, I believe now. He is really coming out of his shell. He is a big guy. Obviously, muscles aren't everything when it comes to obviously fighting, but he is
The
very
speed though.
the speed. Yeah, for a big guy with the muscles he has and the speed he is very powerful. And yeah, obviously WBA International Super Weatherweight title knockout round 3,
Round 3.
which is a very impressive kind of
Another
obviously
champion in Liverpool.
it's great, isn't it? Obviously British fighters are
Hmm.
coming out really well at the moment. Obviously we're biased because we're from Britain, but these fighters are really making UK shine at the moment in my eyes,
They are. They are.
which
The
is
last few years, they've really put boxing back on the map.
yeah, of course you're going to get the feisty Mexicans, you're going to get the classy Americans, you're going to get the Russians, the hardcore Lithuanians or Albanians. You're always going to get like international stars, but just England in general at the moment, title wise, is fantastic. You go through
Yeah,
all
all
the
the
titles,
electricity
it's just
and the
brilliant.
energy is all here at the moment.
It's great, yeah. All the fights, all the main fights that you hear about are either going to have an English person involved or are in England. So
100%. Yeah.
it's great. Also on that card, Sam, Chris Ballum Smith, a young up and coming fight. Well, not young, but in the game he is quite young. Versus Vazel Ducor. He wins the WBA Continental Cruiserweight title. They're both
Wow.
really big guys, really coming into obviously their stride now, and obviously fight wise, they threw a lot of shots at each other. It was bombs, bombs, and more bombs. So the rounds were the judges' round scorecards was 99-90, 99-90, 97-92 to Chris Ballum Smith. So that is
Wow.
very impressive. He's pretty much won every round.
Yeah.
Um, and
Was it a dominant performance
it was.
or was it
It was.
back and forth?
It was back and forth. You can see obviously the other guy was not like cowering down, but he was always on the back foot. Chris always had like control of the ring, knew what was happening and stuff like that. You never saw him kind of have
He was
problems.
the aggressor.
But yeah, he's now had 12, well, 13 fights now, 12 wins, one loss, and the loss came recently, to be fair. But I think he learned a lot from that. Like
Mm,
obviously at AJ, everyone wants to keep their zero. Yeah,
of
everyone
course.
wants to keep their zero. But I believe now we've watched AJ fight. After that, he kind of mindset's different, and you'll see that from other fighters as well.
Well, I believe all fighters need to have one loss just to know how it feels and gives them room to improve a lot as well.
Obviously, recently with boxing wise, you've seen like some of the big winners lose. Some people
Yes,
say that it's because of the fans, or because of the ring rust, or because of
or the
this, or because
pandemic.
of that, or the
Yeah,
pandemic, or um, I also think it's kind of good. It shakes things up a bit.
it does. It puts more excitement into it.
Yeah, and for them as well, I know they have been training, and it's really hard to lose, and
Mm.
it can ruin fighters to lose, but sometimes it can make them.
I mean, as much as I want some fighters to win, I do love upsets as well. I think
Yeah.
it's just something exciting about an upset
It's great to watch.
because yeah, you don't see them often.
You don't see them often, but it's um it's great. It's obviously it's something that's always going to happen. You can't win. You can't, it's obviously very very rare that you keep your zero throughout your whole career.
It's very rare.
Big names like Joe Calzaghe, Floyd Mayweather,
Yeah,
they all keep all lose. You think like greats like Muhammad Ali, he
yeah,
lost his zero. Tyson lost his zero. Do you know what I mean? We're
yeah.
talking greats now. Bruno, zero lost. But yeah, two Mike Tyson to be fair. But no, it obviously happens, and it's the way of the business, really. But I find it's obviously the best way, and it's obviously happened with this Chris guy. Um, Another fight that happened was Joe Cordina versus Korbanov. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. Um, so basically, Cordina won on majority decision, 96-96, 98-93, and 96-95. It wasn't a blockbuster fight. It was very good. It was back and forth. It was just a good watch, to be fair. No fireworks,
Yeah.
but it was good. It was a good overall fight. The main
Huh.
fight of the card, obviously, Lawrence Okoli knocks out Glowacki for the
Glowacki, yeah.
WBO World Cruiserweight title with a huge right hand in the sixth round. Did you see the
I
knockout?
saw it. I did. It was unbelievable.
It looked very painful.
It did. He didn't look
Yeah,
like he was
the
gonna get back up from that at all.
so um, that makes obviously Lawrence Okoli cruiserweight and obviously holder, and wants to obviously take and unify all of the cruiserweight division, which I think he will. I reckon the positivity around this guy, the way he conducts himself, he does come around quite flashy and quite confident sometimes, but obviously it's working. 16 wins, no losses, no draws, 13 knockouts. The guy's on fire at the moment. What do you think?
That now puts with the 16th win. That now puts him on the same rise as Anthony Joshua. Is that correct? And he also beat Charles Martin to have that achievement of winning the first world title. And he also has win. He also got the European, the British, and the Commonwealth champion as well, hasn't he?
Yes, British, Commonwealth, and European honours.
So to
Um,
do that in just 16 fights is crazy.
it is crazy. He's had in 2018 a Coley's name. Um, it wasn't the best. He had ugly performances, ugly displays in the fights. Wasn't good. Didn't really come across as like a superstar.
No,
And what he's done is turned that around now, and he comes across as a better person, and
a professional boxer.
a professional boxer. Yeah, no, you are completely right.
Well,
Obviously, obviously that.
did you hear about his? Sorry,
No, you go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, did you see about his? I heard about his story about before he got into boxing. So apparently, Oakley, for people who don't know, he was apparently obese and he was flipping burgers at McDonald's in East London in 2012.
Mm.
And then 9 years later, he's now an Olympian, an author, a rapper. Then he won the European and Commonwealth belt, and now he's just won his first world title, all in 9 years.
It's fantastic. Yeah. What it is that he went into boxing due to being bullied at school, due to obviously how he looked, and obviously that affects people, and that's why boxing's such a great sport to get into. Obviously, continued working at McDonald's, good grafter. Do you know what I mean? Making his money,
Mm.
and then when it comes to obviously the opportunity to go British and Commonwealth, he took his chance and obviously came ahead and won it. So a story like that is just fantastic to hear.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a lot of inspiration for a lot of people who are in the same situations right now. Anyone who's overweight, working in a bad job, but can easily turn their life around.
that's why obviously COVID is affecting a lot of people mental health wise, as well as obviously athletic wise. What I'd recommend for anyone that has a little bit of stress to get on a bag and start punching it. You do feel the effect instantly. Like when like last couple of years, I've got my friends into boxing training, and it's just been they've loved it. They've always felt intimidated by it, but once you get involved, it's fantastic. So
It's actually addictive.
yeah, very addictive. Adrenaline rushes all the time. But that's obviously great for Okoli. He's obviously had that in his life, got the titles, then's had a blip, come back from that blip, and has just literally stormed obviously the WBO cruiserweight title fight with working at distance, using his jab, being professional, power shone through when it needs to be. So yeah, it was a great fight. I really enjoyed it, and if you haven't watched it, watch it.
Funny post-fight interview as well. They were asking him, "How does it feel to be world champion?" He's like, "It's mad, isn't it?"
Yeah, he said that, I'm not gonna cry on camera. I was like, oh man. But one
it was
thing
quite, it was,
one thing I am concerned
what's
about
that?
Okoli is that Eddie Hearn is already talking about moving him up to heavyweight.
Ooh,
And for me,
it's too fast.
there's so many heavyweights at the moment that are so good. Do you know what I
And
mean?
there's a big difference between cruiserweight and heavyweight. It's just a different league.
Is he the same quality as Usyk? To obviously,
Looking at him right now, I would say no. Usyk is on another level.
and obviously Usyk's just come into the heavyweight, and
Yeah,
let's just see what happened. And there was also
yeah. I think
chat. Sorry, Sam, go on.
I was going to say, let's see how Usyk does in the heavyweight division, and then if he can prove that he belongs there, then there's no question that other fighters can attempt the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think Okoli's great, right? And I think he's on the right direction. He's just got to obviously fight the next fight, keep going, forget who's in the ring, and just obviously go for as many titles as possible. People are
Yeah,
saying that Galaki, very experienced fighter, 31 wins, 19 knockouts, 3 losses, right?
insane.
And it's a great record. And obviously at cruiserweight, the only losses he's had is one is against Usyk. Obviously,
Uh,
Briadis, I've never really heard of him, but obviously
no,
was very good. And obviously a Coley now. So yeah, those 3 people that he's had fights against. Wow, just a fighter. So Gualaki has actually had 21 months out of the ring, including a spell of COVID this year. So
what the hell?
people were saying, was he at his best? Stuff like that. So we wait and see about Okoli and see what goes on next. But obviously
See what
very
happens, but
promising.
he was no joke.
Yeah, very, very promising. Now we fly over to America and
Mm.
hear about Virgil Ortiz Jr. Versus Morris Hooker. Sam, did you watch it?
I did. Very entertaining fight.
Very entertaining fight. I enjoyed it very much. Lots of great punches, great combos. Just everyone just seemed to enjoy it as well when they were watching it. And yes, Virgil Ortiz stops Hooker in the 7th round. He now wants a shot at Terence Crawford, which is going to be an amazing fight if it happens.
Oh, can you imagine?
It's a great fight. So perfect record so far: 17 wins, 17 knockouts. This guy is no joke. He is very good, and you can see that last, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%.
The fight, obviously, he threw magical right hook that made hooker actually. Funny words, hook to the hooker. He took the knee and was not able to continue anymore. And I don't think I could have continued weeks and weeks and weeks on from that shot. That was very painful. Um, the thing that said he's 22 years old.
Insane. He's so young as well. So much more to do.
So young. It's very good, and I love that kind of thing about someone so young, very determined, ready to go. He's actually said,
Undefeated as well.
yeah, definitely. Obviously, this is
17.
great. 17 wins, 17 knockouts. Guys, no
Insane.
joke. Love the comments that he made after the fight. I don't care if I'm not ready. I want that fight against Crawford. Who says that? Who's crazy enough to go, "Oh, I want the number ones and I want the number two straight away." But it's great. It's great to hear. Right. So that was this week's, and obviously Saturday is going to be a very entertaining weekend of boxing. We've got Dylan White versus Povetkin 2. Um,
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
what I'm waiting for.
after obviously the crazy knockout from last time. Dillian White won all of the opening rounds. Povetkin, I thought, was dead and buried in the fight, points wise, as well as obviously blowing out as well. It looked like turned it around, knocked him clean off his feet. White was on the floor. Do you think it'll happen the same, Sam?
Oh, I don't know. I think we're going to see a more improved Dylan White. I think he's going to look back at this at the first fight and definitely improve on his mistakes that he made in the first fight. And I think we'll see a different Dylan White in the second fight.
I think so too. The one he lost that fight for himself. It wasn't Povetkin that won that fight. Dylan White took his foot off the gas,
Yeah,
wanted obviously the easy way out. I don't know if that was the right way or not to go. He was winning all the rounds. He thought that Povetkin was going to blow, and he didn't. And obviously, great shot came from nowhere. And hopefully, Dylan White now thinks about that and obviously goes through and wins.
mm.
If he does
That-
win this, right? So there's news from the WBC president, which I've never heard of before. If his word is true, it will. This fight will tee up a very interesting fight against Deontay Wilder. So people in boxing are talking about Dillian White versus Deontay Wilder. What do you think?
wow, that's a fight that was supposed to be booked beforehand. People were excited for it and was disappointed when the fight couldn't be made. Um, but yeah, if Dylan White can get past Povetkin this weekend, I'm very excited to see that fight happen between Dylan White and Deontay Wilder.
Oh, same. I think it's going to be a great
Uh,
fight.
And
The
that's just
chat,
bombs away.
the press conference is going to be disgusting as well.
Yeah, we've
They're,
we've seen what Dylan White's
they're
like throwing chairs and tables across rooms.
both hotheads. Literally, don't care what they say about someone. Obviously, Dante Wilder said about killing people. Dillian
Yeah.
White is like, let's scrap now. Let's do it right here in front of no one. Just
The build ups, it's going to be crazy.
press conference is going to be brilliant, right?
But this week could be interesting as well. How does Dylan White approach Povetkin this week during fight week when they have their press conference and their weigh-ins? Does he approach him more aggressive, or is he going to give him his respect? This would be interesting as well
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting. Let's see what happens. But I think it's going to be a bit more of a cool, calm head, I reckon.
and more focused.
I think so. I hope so. I hope.
Looking at their records, so Povetkin is now 36-2, and Dylan White is 27-2. Dylan White has 18 KOs and Povetkin has 24 KOs. It's quite an impressive record combined.
it's a good fight. It's a good
It's a
fight.
it's a
It's
good
gonna be a
it's a
great
good
fight,
matchup.
great matchup. And if Dylan White does lose this fight, he hasn't lost to a nobody in my eyes.
No,
And
he's
I
proper
think
dangerous with that kick.
everyone in obviously in Britain or on the main stage thinks, "Oh, Dylan White, up and coming. Oh my god!" Like, but Povetkin is a serious contender. I just like how
100%.
I like how consistent he is. He's
Yeah,
consistently good at everything. He's just a very good athlete. Yeah,
unbelievable record. I mean, when was his? So he's won. So he's won his last fight. Then he had a draw against Michael Hunter, and then he fought Fury. Oh, his only loss was to Anthony Joshua. He hasn't lost since 2014. Besides the loss to Anthony Joshua,
crazy, isn't it?
so he's got a good resume.
Yeah, definitely. Did you hear the news about Mike Tyson?
I did.
So Mike
Pretty
Tyson
mental.
has either Evander Holyfield to fight or James Toney, right?
Oh,
So
is it?
there's there's basically loads of chat about all of this. So obviously the Holyfield Tyson fight, the bite fight, stuff like that, where obviously hopefully Holyfield gets some covers for his ears. But so Holyfield's 58 years old. He's
It's insane.
I've looked at his records as well. Listen to this. So 57 fights, 44 wins, 29 knockouts, 10 losses, and he stands at 6 foot 2.5 inches. So like literally massive like obviously a massive name in boxing, Holyfield.
True
Um
legend.
true legend. Gotta remember him obviously for everything. Yeah, what an amazing fighter. We've obviously got Mike Tyson. Record is 58 fights, 50 wins. Crazy record, crazy record. And yeah, stands at 5'10". I didn't realize he was 5'10". He looks so much smaller.
Yeah, yeah, he does look shorter, but yeah, he's 5'10".
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. So, and this James Toney, I looked him up because I didn't know too much about him. I knew he's like yeah, he's just that really bald black guy that I always thought was all around in the 80s. But yeah, 77 wins, 47 knockouts. He's fought cruiserweight, middleweight, and super middleweight. He
That's
had
mental.
3 titles. Yeah, and he's won so many times. So who's he gonna fight? So the date is May the 29th, and it's in Miami. Fancy going?
100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's go. Let's get
some
some
people.
tickets.
I mean, some people they disagree with the old fighters coming back to compete because they're not going to be at the same level as they were. But as a fighter fan, it's just entertainment. I mean, I'm happy to watch that fight. I mean, I'm not going to say who's. It's not one of them fights where you look at a competitive level and think who's the best, but it's one of them fights. It's just for all time's sake. It's a one-off.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not?
Yeah, definitely. And it's for us lot, like our age group, who obviously
Yeah,
love boxing, wasn't old enough to really appreciate it then, and obviously to see our like the legends fight is quite cool. It is
yeah,
quite cool. Obviously, you do have to be careful of what health, and that's why people are
100%.
very
Yeah.
scared of obviously people over like nearly 60
But
doing what
wouldn't they
they've
need to
done.
do? Wouldn't they need to do like fitness tests before they get actually granted a license to do it?
I believe so.
So they must be passing the fitness
Yeah, I
and
believe.
the medicals.
Yeah. So I'm just going to finish this boxing section with another sad. We had a sad loss, obviously, last week, and we have another loss this week. His name was Lee Noble. He passes away at only 33 years old, following a long battle with cancer. He was in the super middleweight division. In 2014, he was unfortunately had terminal brain cancer in that kind of time between 2014 and 2019. He had a lot of fights. Eddie Hearn, big names in Britain, British boxing, have called out and said what a nice guy he was, what a hard fighter he was, how obviously how brave he was with all his obviously his illnesses. he had a record of 20 fights, 20 wins, sorry, 24 losses and 3 draws. So he has been around for a long time. Has obviously been fighting a long time as well. But just wanted to say, yeah, rest in peace, and obviously love for his family and friends. But
Mm,
yeah, it's not nice to obviously see such a young person dying of obviously such a horrible disease.
mm.
But no, positive news is that we're going to have a great show next week. I hope you enjoyed this show. Have you, Sam?
I very enjoyed it. It's made me even more hyped for the fights coming up.
I bet you're not going to sleep tonight.
Oh,
Okay.
probably not.
Jake, Jake's got to be here next week. He has to be. It's such an
and
important week.
I'm very geeky. I'll be watching all the interviews, all the promos, even the fan made promos for the fights.
Or,
So I'm
or
very excited.
don't do that. Some are absolutely terrible.
Some are, but there's a one called what's his name? Dreist promos. He's actually really good. Makes him quite professional.
Oh, good.
And you've got another one called Zion promos, which is really good as well.
Nice. Nice.
But
Well,
love it.
great news. Well, we'll end it there, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. And we'll speak to you again next week. See you soon, Sam.
Speak to you soon. See you, everyone.
See you later.